Welcome back to Monday Night Live.
An entrepreneur that has been disrupting the lead generation industry.
Introducing your host, Nathaniel Bibby.
LinkedIn marketer of the year. Named Nathaniel Bibby.
Welcome to Monday Night Live. If you're new here, I'm Nathaniel Bibby. Over 500 million in sales for our clients using LinkedIn strategies alone. Monday Night Live is your weekly dose of LinkedIn strategies, marketing tips, and business advice to get you to the next level. Monday night at 6 p.m. Perth time. So drop in the comments and say what's up.
Monday Night Live.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's cracking? Welcome to Monday Night Live. It's my favorite night of the week, Monday night, because I get to see you guys, get to hang out and talk about all this fun stuff. Marketing moves, LinkedIn strategies, growing businesses. Who we got on the call? Drop in the comments and say, hey, how you going? And let us know where you're tuning in from. Guys, we've got to stop counting impressions and start counting the impressed. Stop counting impressions and start counting the impressed. Successful social media marketing isn't built on views and followers. It's built on relationships and trust. So if you build relationships and trust, you make sales and you don't fuck it up because you have a foundation, a real relationship. It's going to become more and more rare with AI, isn't it? But all of you have got views and followers and you might make a sale here or there, but they're flimsy, non-committal. They'll follow you on LinkedIn, but will they follow you in real life? Will they let you lead? So tonight we're going to talk about lead generation and exactly how I generated 136 qualified leads in 2 weeks on LinkedIn with no ads, no spam, no automation, no pitch slapping, and none of that stuff. Just attention and trust. I'm going to talk you through the exact strategy and I'll give you a clue. It's got something to do with LinkedIn events. Okay, and actually genuinely caring about people as well. There's no sales pitch coming tonight. All we do at Monday Night Live is deliver value. I find that that's the best way to do business. What I do, what my philosophy is I add value wherever I go. And anyone that appreciates that value and wants to do business, we do business with them. So we're not really doing business with anyone that doesn't appreciate the value already. It's a great way to work because you have a real relationship up front. I'm not seeing many comments coming through, guys. If you are here, please do say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I want to know who I'm talking to. And let's make this interactive, hey? You know, ask some questions. I can see the numbers of that. There's a few people here. I just haven't seen anyone drop in the comments yet. I know there's a little bit of a delay, but I'm watching you. Okay, legends, if you're new here, welcome back to Monday Night Live. This is your weekly dose of LinkedIn strategies, marketing moves, and real talk about what's actually working right now in business. My name is Nathaniel Bibby, founder of Bibby Media Group. We've helped generate over $500 million in sales through LinkedIn strategies. So I've trained over 40,000 professionals in the last 11 years, and this is what I do every day, LinkedIn marketing and beyond. So before we get into the heat of tonight, I'm giving away a free LinkedIn coaching session tonight. You'll get a free coaching session with me to go over your profile, to look at your content strategy, look at your lead generation strategy. All you got to do is do a post about tonight's episode, but here's the catch. The post has to have you in it. So whether it's a selfie or whatever, post about tonight's episode of Monday Night Live with you in it. My favorite one is going to win a free $500 coaching with me voucher. So good luck with that. Hey, Amber, I haven't seen you in a while on here. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you all the way from Cape Town. Amber's been with us many years. Hey, Andy, my favorite Englishman. I hope you're behaving yourself over there, mate. I think it must be morning for you. Monday Morning Live. Today is a masterclass on LinkedIn psychology. It's on behavior, trust, content, events, and lead generation done the right way. I don't believe in doing things just like, I don't believe in just doing content. I don't believe in just doing outreach. I believe in building relationships, and this is how it's done in the most effective way possible. So let's get into it, shall we? And thanks for those guys that have jumped in the comments. I'd like to see a few more of you jump in, make it a bit interactive. Let me know if you have any questions as we go, Amber and Andy and whoever else is out there. If you're watching the replay, I do come back and read the comments, so make sure that you jump in as well. We're going to talk data. I want to start with data because the numbers never lie, not theory, right? So LinkedIn's own research shows that 94% of B2B marketers say trust is the single most important factor in business success. Would you agree with that? Let me know in the chat. Do you agree that trust is the most important factor in business success? Let me know what you think. Does it depend on the industry? Let me know what you think. So 95% of buyers are out of market right now. Does that make sense? 95% of people aren't ready to buy. They're not buying, they're thinking, considering, observing, filing people away, deciding whether they like this person or not, or this person's too salesy, but they're not actually ready to make a purchase now. You've got a purchasing funnel, like a customer journey, right? And right at the top, in the awareness stage, when people don't necessarily even know that they have the problem that you solve, you've got the biggest number of people. There's most of your network is up there. So when you're doing organic content, you've got to cater for that stage if you want to get engagement. If you want to get enough engagement for everyone else to see it, right? But 95% are actually not in the buying stage. So isn't it crazy that like salespeople hop onto LinkedIn and just start pitch slapping everyone? Okay, because like one time in 20 times, you're going to find a buyer. The other people, all the other 19 people, you've just pissed off. So we want to approach people in a way that's not salesy, that adds value, so that when they jump from the 95% into the 5%, they actually like you and trust you and want to do business with you. Very important. These statistics aren't made up, right? This is the facts. So you can see why most people get social media marketing wrong, can't you? Because look at the statistics, it's obvious. 95% of people aren't ready to buy, so why are you selling to them? Look at your inbox, look at the messages salespeople are sending. There's very few that are actually thinking about the 95% that aren't ready to buy when they're sending those messages. They're only thinking about the 5%. So your job is not to convert the 5% who are ready. That's not your job on social media. Your job is to warm the 95% who will be ready in 3 months, 6 months, or 3 years. Because when they hop in the 5%, they're going straight to you. You know, by the time they're in the 5%, you'd think they would have an idea of who they're going to do business with. So you want to focus on the 95%, okay? Hopefully, if you've done that right, when they move into the 5%, they're going to reach out to you and you're going to have a call. By the way, you want to make sure that when you get approached by somebody that's just moved into the 5%, you pull the conversation off LinkedIn. That's the time when you want to pull them off LinkedIn onto a call, a Zoom, a Google meeting. Very important. It will transform your conversions. Why? Because then you can have control over the conversation. Do you know that 7% of communication is words? 7%. So while you're selling, or whatever you call it, helping people buy on LinkedIn chat, you've only got 7% of the available skill set of communication available to you. So as soon as you can get the opportunity, you want to pull them offline. Now, the only caveat to that is you want to take them offline when the timing is right. There's no point doing it when they're at the stop of the customer journey. If you know that and you know that they're going to be more likely to be ready in 3 months, set the appointment for 3 months' time. Because you want your funnel so big, you want so many leads in there that you can't meet everyone, and you're trying to funnel people in for the right time. You don't want to be just meeting everyone now, because then in 3 months' time, you've already had that meeting, and it makes more sense to do it in 3 months' time, if that makes sense. You could hop on a call though. Only do it for 15 minutes. I believe in the 15-minute phone call. Don't waste people's time. Be respectful of people's time and be respectful of your time. Here's the one that most people choke on. 65% of people who register for events don't show up. I think it's probably higher than that on LinkedIn, don't you think? 65%, I ran the marketing for event for a client a few weeks ago, and within a week we had like 150 odd people registered, and they were like, "Oh, great, event's full, brilliant." And I was like, hang on. Just because they registered doesn't mean they're going to show up. Now, if they registered and they bought a $1,000 ticket, yeah, sure, they might show up. But if it's a LinkedIn Live or a webinar or a free event, you're not going to get you're not even going to get half people show up unless you do a few extra things. So it's just the start, right? Most people don't realize that. That's why their marketing fails when they do LinkedIn events. LinkedIn events is one of the biggest opportunities, I think, to do a mass marketing to a high volume of leads at every stage of the customer journey. And I'm going to explain to you why that is so. So look, if 65% of people don't show up to your event, it's not because your event's rubbish. It just, that's the way it works. Humans have kids, jobs, school pickups, it rains, burst pipes, flat tires, bad days, sleepless nights, divorces. All right, let's not get into all the details. Dean Osborne's in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Perth in the house. Hi, Dean. Thanks for being here, my friend. Hello, this is Crystal from Data Fam Mumbai. Welcome. Welcome, Crystal. Nice to see you here. We've got a comment here from Amber. Couldn't agree more. Trust is the multiplier. You can have a brilliant strategy, world-class branding and flawless operations, but without trust. Hey, do you know what? I couldn't agree with you more. I did a conference on Friday. I was on a panel at cybersecurity and risk and governance. So there was a lot of long words being thrown around, and I was the only one wearing sneakers. But apart from that, it was just crazy, like how, you know, the governance for AI, like they're going to struggle extreme. They've got such a hard job to keep up with AI, haven't they? If you think about it, because AI is creating AI. It's like, it's huge. So building trust, right, is like, sorry, let me just get this comment off the screen. There we go. Yeah, building trust is like the most important thing. So how do you build trust? Well, for starters, one of the quickest ways to do it is don't use AI, right? We think about it. You're trying to build a relationship with somebody, you're communicating with potential customer, you're trying to build trust, but you're sending a robot instead of yourself. I don't know. I mean, every robot I've spoken to when I've been looking to solve a problem or buy something has annoyed me. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, I've been on the phone today to AI, and it's just like, what do I have to say to you to speak to a human, mate? And I know they're going to get better, and I don't think there's any problem with using AI to communicate with your customers, as long as you disclose it. People don't mind speaking to AI. They just don't want to be lied to. And if you're pretending like it's a human, or even worse, if you're pretending it's you, that's a problem. It's a misalignment, right? If you're trying to build trust with people. So I said at this conference, I got up and said, hey, the biggest AI hack there is, don't use it. People are like, what? You know, I use it in most areas of my business. The area which I'm trying really hard not to use it in is communicating and trust building and content creation with my customers. Now, if you are going to use it, like, this is the thing, most people get it to correct all their human errors. The human, you know, when they write like they have a conversation and then they get AI to clean it all up. What I actually would prefer you did is actually tell AI not to clean anything you've written up, to keep it human, and then maybe just add a few bits and pieces to it. But the human bit's the most important part. Do you know that the algorithm has just been updated? So the algorithm now is AI, and the algorithm is reinvented every 15 minutes by AI. So if you think about it, AI is obviously smarter than humans. The machine behind a platform like LinkedIn is obviously smarter than a lot of AI humans. If you want to say, it's a smart machine, right? Now, what does that machine want? What kind of content does it want? Does it want content that's generated by other machines? No, it's a social media site. Social media sites are there to build relationships with people, right? To help connection. So it doesn't want AI content. So do you think that the LinkedIn AI machine's not going to be able to find your LinkedIn AI post? Of course it will. So what's going to happen is 65% of people who are posting content who are using AI are just going to get demoted, because that's not what the algorithm wants. It actually wants human content. So you might have spent 20, 30 years learning how to spell correctly and put commas in the right place. Now I'm suggesting that you need to unlearn it all for the purpose of content. You've got to write like you speak. If you wouldn't say what you just wrote in the pub to somebody, then you can't post it on LinkedIn. You've got to, and do you know what? The people that write how they speak and have conversations with their words are going to do phenomenally well, because all the other guys are getting penalized. And trust me when I say it won't be long before you'll see a little, what do you call it? Like a little notification or a little warning or something that says, hey, this post was generated by AI. And it won't matter if you take a capital letter out, or, remove a couple full stops, or make a couple grammar mistakes in your prompt, which everyone is doing. All the influencers are doing right now. Make sure it's a couple of spelling mistakes, they say. Amber has found that consistent follow-up makes a big difference for events. I send a registration confirmation, one-day reminder. You are well organized. That's fantastic. Yeah, look, I always send at least one message before, not on Monday Night Live all the time. I'm very busy. I can't always do it on Monday Night Live, but if an important event, always send reminders, always send follow-ups in the DMs. Most people don't know this, but I'll tell you a secret. The money on LinkedIn is made in the DMs. If you're spending all your time looking at the newsfeed, I'd be very surprised if you make much money. It's all made in the DMs. That's where you build interpersonal relationships, right? Because you're not communicating in public. Anyway, let's talk about the strategy. So if the event is the magnet, the follow-up is the money, the relationship is the conversion engine, but the currency, my friends, is trust, right? So this whole system that I use to generate 136 leads in 2 weeks is built on the psychology behind those statistics I've just mentioned. Now, let's talk about storytelling, because people don't buy goods and services, they buy stories and magic. This is the era that we're moving into, right? Like if you just want to buy a commodity, you can go online, you can read the reviews, you can make a pretty good assumption based on the quality of the product or service, and you can look at the price, and that's how you can make your decision, right? If you want to stand out from all of that, you've got to tell a story. Because if someone's buying it for identity or fear of missing out, you can charge a lot more. And it's a lot more valuable as well. My first webinar ever, by the way, I've never used technology. Back then there was no lives, like it was, a webinar. And I had like 24 people coming. Back then that was a lot, right? And we couldn't get the thing to work. I actually had my website guy there to help me with the tech. We couldn't get it to work. And after like 10 minutes of trying to get it to work, we're like, oh, it's 10 minutes gone already. Forget it, we stuffed it up. Oh no. He's like, do you want a beer? I said, yeah, I'll have a beer. And we're like, fuck, we're swearing and we're going, oh, we fucked that up. Anyway, we sat down and we're just like, okay, well, that's a wrap. I'm gonna have to call all these clients now. Anyway, turns out the camera was on the whole time. So they just saw us sitting there complaining, having a beer. They thought, some of them thought it was hilarious. Some of them weren't too impressed. But what I did is I called each of the 24 people that were registered individually to apologize. Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so embarrassed, It's the first time we've done a webinar. And I made 2 sales from those 24 phone calls. Isn't that interesting? So I was like, that was a success. And nothing worked. And I've made every mistake under the sun when it comes to webinars and LinkedIn Lives and all that sort of stuff. Like I've done plenty where the visuals don't work, and you figure it out as you go. But you've got to be okay with making mistakes. But the point is, it's not necessarily just about the event, is it? It's not just about the event. It's what happens around the event. It's the fact that they invested their time, they put it in their calendar and they're coming. You can communicate with them before the event, after the event. You've got a reason to communicate with them. They've registered for your event. So too often I see just people like do an event, get all the registrations. They may even do the follow-up to get people to the event, but that's it. They just show up for the event and then they leave. Right? There's so much more opportunity for you to engage one-on-one with individuals that are coming. Like if you've got 10 people coming, let's say it's only 10, right? That's 10 people that you can call next week. That's 10 people you could have called the week before. So all I'm suggesting is you don't have to call everyone individually, but what can you do around the event to make it more exciting and make it more interesting? That was a cool webinar experience. Do you know what? It wasn't that long after that before I was getting like 200-300 people on webinars. They were great back then. And we would always sell on them, because if you're taking people off of LinkedIn, I suggest you can sell for sure. But on LinkedIn, it's a little bit different because people's like finger are on the trigger. I think just add value on social media and take people off of LinkedIn if you want to do like a sales pitch, or at least to the company page. The company page is a bit more sticky. On the company page, people enter their email addresses, right? So you can put a form on there so people put their email address in and they can tick a box that says, yes, I'd like to receive email communication from these people. Now, you won't get as much visibility on the event. Generally, people have more connections on their personal profile and you'll just get more reach in the feed and you'll get more conversions because there's no email address. Like every time you add a step to anything, like a sales process, anything in marketing, if you add an extra step like a form, your conversion rate goes down. I think most of us understand that, right? So just by adding that form there, even though they've only got to press one button to submit their email address, you've just made it a little bit harder, so your conversions will be a little bit less. Some people will bail, okay? So that's the way it works. But like the strategy these days, right, is to actually care about your audience. Too many, like everyone, I ask people why they do what they do all the time. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh, you know, I just thought that that industry would have a lot of money in it. Or I thought I target the US because, you know, they're rich over there. Or, you know, I thought I'd do accounting because everyone, like, it's about them, right? They see an opportunity for them to make money or whatever they're trying to achieve. But it's like that's the reason. Even if that is your reason, you need to come up with an answer to that question that is about your audience. Because if you want your audience to give a fuck about you and your products, you got to give a fuck about them first. Right? Like, I'm only swearing for emphasis, because how can you expect prospects to care about what you offer if you don't care about them first? Most marketers are selfish, and that's why they lose, like, especially in the long term. Most marketers are selfish. Most salespeople are selfish. They want leads, they want sales, they want attention, they want a new Bentley, they want conversions. Don't get me wrong, you can have all that stuff as well, but you'll do a much better job of it long term if you build real relationships with people and actually help people get what they want. And if you focus on that, the rest will come. Because those guys that are doing that, they forget that the audience is made of humans with needs, fears, desires. They've got dreams. If all your content and all of everything you put out there is just like, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, you lose. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. You'll notice these guys always need new followers, right? They don't have long-term audience. And, you know, I mean, it's not easy to have a long-term audience, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, you know, I've kept every follower I've ever had either. It's very difficult because you've got to be very consistent. But if it's all about you and there's no value to the other person, eventually they're going to leave, because your content doesn't say, I see you, I understand your problem, I get you. Does that make sense? So before you post, if you need to, right, rather than thinking, okay, how do I get people to my event? How do I make more sales? Think about, okay, this event is going to make this difference, and you're going to define it, right? I'm going to help all these businesses, right, double their leads. So if I'm going to help all these businesses double their leads, all these businesses that are struggling, like, you know, struggling to get to the next level, are going to be able to do that and are able to provide for their families. Like, I have to get them there. Right? I will be letting them down. I'll be doing a disservice if I don't get them to this event. Now, what is it that I can do to make them take action? That's the mindset that you want to have going into it, because then you're not coming across as pushy. You're coming across as like understanding. And if you don't understand what their problem is and you don't know the lead well enough, you got to ask them questions. You can't sell to somebody until they've told you that they have the problem that you solve and you have permission to share your solution. The great thing about events is you're not even sharing a solution, right? You're giving them an invitation to learn something. Come along to the event, learn something. You don't have to buy anything, but what will happen is, because they've heard you teach in public about that thing, it will build trust and you'll become the authority, right? The great thing about teaching in public is it affects everyone on the customer journey. So I can do a Monday Night Live and it will cater for people at this top of the awareness stage. And that's the people that come in through the invitations and through the posts that I do on the feed. Maybe we'll send an email out. You know, most of them are going to be in the awareness stage, the 95%, right? And then there's a couple of people who, let's say I met with, you know, late last week, and we discussed doing business together. You know, like, let's say it's like, you know, $5 grand a month or 10 grand a month, right? It's a big client, it's a big opportunity. They'll be with us for over 12 months. And they're like, we need to think it over. Hey, why are you doing that? Why don't you tune in Monday night, 6 p.m. Perth time to Monday Night Live? We're actually talking about lead generation. You guys are going to love it, because that's exactly what we're going to do for your brand. I've just made an extra touch point with somebody that's right at the bottom of the customer journey. Does that make sense? So if you can get like 2 people there that are right down the bottom and you've got 100 people in the room, that's all you need for the event to be worthwhile. Most people are just thinking about like the people at the top or the people at the bottom. If you think about everybody in the customer journey, you'll actually be able to impact all of them, because if you're teaching in public, it affects people right at the bottom of the customer journey as well. And that's what I love about it. Even your existing clients, invite them along. It's a value add. If you're adding value, you can do it at every stage of the customer journey. Incredible. All right, I'm just going to drop into comments, and because I've been ignoring you guys a little bit. Telling a story works for everything. It does, doesn't it? One little tip I'll give you that I did a storytelling live last week. If you're delivering your story and you've noticed that you're saying "and then" a lot, because I say that a lot when I tell my stories, and when I watch them back, if I notice that I say "and then I know I need to change something. What you want to replace it with is "but therefore." But therefore. So rather than just saying, I did this and then I did that, you say I did this, but then I did that, therefore I did this, right? So there's always that tension that keeps the story interesting and engaging. Just a hot little tip that I thought I'd share with you. Who else we got in the house? Storm Dawson, of course. Where my Perth people at? Andy, are you still there, mate? Hey, Mr. Ramsey, how are you? The best way to use AI, ask it to keep the content as it is and tell you how it can be enhanced, and you do it your way. Love it, my friend. Absolutely. It's getting really smart, the AI stuff, isn't it? Let's have a look here. There is an event I am thinking about going to in Perth about networking, and the main speaker has no real presence online from an older generation. To be honest, I'm 50-50 on going, as I can't see or watch anything about the speaker. Wow. Interesting. Isn't that interesting, guys? Think about the customer psychology there, right? People are looking online to see if this speaker is any good, and he's not there. Such a missed opportunity. Storm, we'll have to call him up and get his LinkedIn profile optimized, I think. Forget automation, forget templates, forget hacks. Here's what actually works, right? If you run a small business, by the way, this is your advantage. This is your advantage, because big businesses can't go one-to-one. You can't speak to the business owner at the big businesses. It's a huge competitive edge. People really underrate what a competitive advantage it is. If you're a chemist or a pharmacist and you're competing with Chemist Warehouse, you're it's so hard to compete with Chemist Warehouse, their prices, dude, you're the owner. You can literally speak directly to the customers. You've got a huge competitive advantage. Doesn't matter if you're more expensive. People will pay. Do you know what's going to happen in the future? Not even when I say the future, I'm what's going to happen tomorrow? People are going to pay a premium for anything that's human-centric. I had a guy come and fix my windows the other day, and he said, "Oh, mate, I'll be out of a job soon. AI will be doing it. A robot will be doing this." And I said to him, "Mate, I'd pay extra for you to come." And I meant it. You think you go to the cinema and you watch a movie that's directed by AI. It's got actors that are AI. Everything's AI. And then you've got another movie that's actually made and created by a real human with real live human actors in it. I would pay $100 for go see the one with humans in it, and you'd be lucky to get me to pay $10 to see the one done by AI. I want to see what humans have created. When I go out for dinner, I don't want to be served by a robot. I want to be served by a human. So while everyone's trying to come up with all these AI startups, do you know what would be a really good business idea? Go buy a piece of land in Geraldton. I'm not joking. That sort of stuff's going to become premium. Being able to get away from technology and have real life human experiences is going to be huge in the future. And you know what's really important is that we teach our kids how to build interpersonal relationships, because otherwise they're going to grow up and they're going to be extremely lonely. I digress. Let's keep going about LinkedIn events. When you register people for your events, make sure you click on the attendee list, right? And you click on their profiles. Now, you can send a connection request but I want you to do this on other people's events. Yes, that's right. You could look at, once you register for an event, you click on, attendee, networking. You click on networking, you can see all of the people that are registered. First degree, second degree people that are registered for the event. So if you think about it, right, let's say you talk about investments, okay? I know Andy's in the audience, he talks about investments. Look, the guest of honor's here. Michelle Bibby. Andy is still here as well. Andy, mate, this is perfect. We're about to get into investments. Who else we got here? There we go. Owning your business. Yeah, Mark, it's hard work, mate. It's very hard work. But anyway, let's talk about this. So you search for events, right, on LinkedIn. Let's say you search for the word investments or real estate. Right? Look at the other events that are out there. Look at the ones that have got a decent number of people registered. go and register for that event. They don't even have to be in the future. You can go to events that have already happened, and you go to networking and you can see all the people that registered for the event. You can see who's commented. So like if you're running events, what a great strategy to invite the people that comment on other investment events. All of a sudden you've got your engagement sorted out. And I wish I had time to do more of this. It's not something that I've been willing to delegate, but it works incredibly well. You invite people that are already going to events in the topic that you're talking about, and you invite them to yours, because you need two things, right? You need sales, but you also need engagement. Everyone that engages doesn't need to buy, because that engagement will amplify your content and you'll reach more people. So that's why you want to add value, because that way you're catering for people that the 95% that aren't ready to buy yet. They're going to be the guys that amplify your content, but you want them engaging. So they don't need to buy as long as they drop a comment and they get active in the comments, in the conversation, and they keep watching. Even the fact if they keep watching is enough, because it's called dwell time, right? LinkedIn looks at how long people are watching or reading or sticking around on your content. That's why my friend Yasmin Alec does so well with his content, right? He gets so much engagement. The comments are so active that people are spending like half an hour on his post because they're commenting, replying to comments, and having conversations underneath the post. It's like a hangout spot for all these LinkedIn creators, right? So you can do that extremely well with LinkedIn events, and I could do a better job of it, like just by saying, hey guys, where are you tuning in from? Let me know who's here. Drop your city in the chat. That's, driving engagement. LinkedIn sees that as signs that people are engaging with the content, and therefore they're going to amplify it. While I'm live, this will be amplified to more people in my network, right? And hopefully more people will tune in. Hopefully more people will see the replay. If I really wanted to push it, I wouldn't go live on YouTube as well, because I could drive all the traffic to LinkedIn. But I like YouTube. I'm a big fan. So yeah, send them a connection request first, and then invite them to your event. This is how you earn attention, right? Because you're not just pitching them as soon as you connect with them. You're inviting them to something valuable, and you position yourself as an expert. There might be somebody here, right? There might be somebody here that's that's got a connection request from me and was invited to this event. I did some this week or last week. But the best strategy on earth is simply caring first. When it comes to marketing, you have to care first, right? Stop pissing people off and start adding value. There, I said it. All right, guys. It's coming up to Christmas. There's something I want to say to you. A lot of people go on holiday over Christmas, and what do they do when they go on holiday? They stop their marketing. If you've watched some of my content recently, you might have heard me say that the engagement on social media goes up in December by about 32%. Conversion rates go up 22%. So people filling out forms on websites like LinkedIn ads, all that sort of stuff, 22% improvement. Now, so the stats are better. You're going to get more leads if you do marketing in December. But in any event, even if that wasn't true, like, why do you want to stop your marketing? So if you asked around, why would people want to stop their marketing any time of year? Well, most of the time when I ask businesses that they say that they want to save money. Guys, stopping your marketing to save money is it's like pulling your oxygen mask off when you're 30 meters under the water scuba diving. It's absolutely crazy, right? Think about it, right? You're stopping your marketing to save money. It's like stopping your watch to save time. That's probably a better analogy. I like that one better. Stopping your watch to save time. Let's break down the exact steps I used over these 2 weeks. So this is the step one, okay? So create a LinkedIn event. You go to desktop, you guys know how to do it. You just like creating a post, you press create event. You want to create a banner, right? With a big promise. Make it as simple as possible. If you can just have 2 words on the banner or even just a picture, that's ideal. If you're going to have a picture, have your face in it. Why? Because 70% of event viewers watch on mobile. People are more likely to be attracted to your face than something else. Why? Because we all learn to connect with people's eyes since we're a baby. The one thing that all of your connections have in common is they're connected to you. So they might recognize you, okay? If your banner is text heavy, no one's going to read it on mobile. They won't see it. It's so small. The banner is so small on a mobile. You can't have more than 3 or 4 words max. I would say only have 2. Well, do you know what? I should say, like, I've done plenty of events with a lot more than 2 words, but now I've landed on like 1 or 2 words. They just convert so much better. Now, write a description that sounds human for the event. People aren't going to read anything longer. You don't have to have everything in there. You don't even need to tell people what you're going to cover in the event. When I interviewed Mr. Grant Cardone, Mr. 10X, I asked him, I said, how did you go from like having a few hundred people at your 10X conference to selling out I think it was 35,000 arena? Because he did literally just jumped from like a seminar room to an arena. I said, what did you do? He goes, I put the price up, dude. Right? I said, did you do anything else? He goes, I stopped telling people about the event. What do you mean? I don't tell people what we're going to talk about at the event. I don't tell people who the guests are. I don't tell them anything. It's just 10X and it's like fireworks and helicopters and it's going to be huge. Like, come along to 10X. Fear of missing out. When I did the LinkedIn versus Instagram tour 4 or 5 years ago, 3 years in a row, we did Perth, about 300 people each time, LinkedIn versus Instagram. Me and his Instagram coach got together. We did a tour of Australia. We went to every city in Australia doing this event. It was incredible. And one of the things we tried in year 3, it took us 3 years to figure this out, is we didn't tell people anything about the event in all of the content leading up to it. And there was a lot of content. We were just like, LinkedIn versus Instagram, the ultimate showdown. Are you ready? Not long now. Let's go. For all they know, it could have been a boxing match, right? More people came because as soon as you start getting into the details, more things for people to disagree with. Does that make sense? If it's a webinar style, it's a little bit different because you have to identify the problem that you're going to solve. Otherwise, people aren't going to come, right? But when you're going live on LinkedIn, you don't necessarily have to always tell people what the event's about. I like to have one big promise, and I don't really want to go into too much of the detail of the content. That's what they got to come for, right? And people don't necessarily know what the solution is to their problem until they come along. So anyway, don't have to tell people about the event. People don't register for content, they register for outcomes, right? It's all the whole don't sell the benefits, sell the benefits, not the features. Sell the sizzle, not the steak. Does that make sense? And you want to make sure you promote it like a human, not a desperate marketer. So don't like ask people to do you favors, right? If somebody comes along, says they're going to come along and support you, you've done something's not right about the way you're marketing, right? Because if they feel like they're doing you a favor, something's not right with the marketing. You've got to stop doing the link in the comments, bro. Link in the comments. I'm pretty sure I created that. I don't know. I definitely came up with the idea on my own. I didn't get it from anyone else. But I was like, drop this word in the comments if you want to get an invite or you want to get an ebook or whatever. The problem is now that everyone is doing it and a lot of the people that are doing it aren't delivering. So it makes you look spammy. What you've got to do now is give the value up front. No link in the comments, bro. You can do it when you're live, by the way. You can do it when you're live. You can get people to comment certain words when you're live. But you can't do it in your content anymore, not on LinkedIn. You got to do it properly, right? So post a story, post a takeaway from a client win, post a selfie video explaining why you're running the session, all of that stuff. Like I just think, you hit people in the feed, you hit people in the DMs, emails, phone calls, text, whatever. Like you just got to hit people from all direction. But as soon as you got to get that social proof. So if you're just starting with events, only do it on one platform. Just do it on LinkedIn. Drive everyone to LinkedIn because it's social. People will see their friends joining. They'll wonder what they're missing out on. You can send them a message, say, hey, have you registered for this? Da, 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 da. And then if you want to leverage your network, invite somebody to come on that's got a big network, an engaged network, right? Look, if you're thinking, I don't know who I could get on. If you wanted to get on, like if you get on anyone you wanted, right? Who would it be? I don't care if it's a celebrity, I don't care, whatever, who would it be? You've got to think about it in the context of LinkedIn. There's no point saying Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? He's not active on LinkedIn. So think about who would be the ideal person for you to get on. Then you got to ask yourself, would I be able to get them on? And if the answer is no, you've got to ask yourself, who has got them on? Who has interviewed them? When I started my first interview series, LinkedIn Heroes, I knew I couldn't approach guests like Grant Cardone and Dr. John Demartini and Jack Delosa. I know they wouldn't, I haven't got an audience yet. I didn't have an audience at all. But I thought, who are the people that can get an interview with, that have got an interview with them? And I went and interviewed those people. What I found was the people that ran the podcasts that had interviewed these guys, the people that ran the podcast, not many people asked them if they wanted to be interviewed. Could you imagine it? You're doing like 10 interviews every fortnight or something, and no one ever wants to interview you? You're likely to say yes, right? Because you've just seen how it plays out, you've got experience, you want to share your story, what you've learned. So those people were so keen, and I gave them a really good experience. So you go to the Calendly, and then you get this like brief, this like glossy sort of outline of what we're going to cover. Make it a really good experience for them. It's very professional. I promote them in a very like strong light, you know. Speak highly of them, which obviously they love, but from an authentic space. Like, not a lot of people will just regurgitate someone's profile. What I do is I look for what do I actually connect with, and then I do an authentic story about them, and then they love that. And so the whole experience is fantastic for them, right? And then what happens after the interview? They're just thrilled. They're on cloud nine. They've just got there's not many people in the world, in real life, that will sit there and ask you questions and listen to you for like an hour. Like, you know, it's pretty rare. So to go on a podcast and to be able to just share your thoughts for an hour and have at least one person, if not more people, listen to you, it's quite a good experience for people that don't do it a lot, right? So after the interview, they're actually feeling great. And then you say, hey, while they're in that state, you say, I've just got a couple of things I want to ask you. One is, would you leave me a review on Google about your experience tonight? And the second thing is, can you think of anyone else that'd be really good for the show? I do that in person, and it's an automated email that they get after they've been interviewed as well. So I did 4 interviews with the guy that runs Startup Grind, the podcast, the Mentor List, another events company, and Success Resources, I think it was. And my 5th interview was Dr. John Demartini. Flew in from the US, and he was running an event, and I looked at who was organizing the event. It was the event company that I just interviewed. I texted her on Instagram and said, I heard Dr. John Demartini's coming. Can you get me an interview with him? She's like, the interview is tomorrow night. And I was like, cool. And anyway, so it turns out, like, I got a text the next day saying, yes, you can interview him, but you've got to be there at 11 p.m. and there's a chance that you can interview him. But if you can interview him, it'll be at 11 p.m. and it'll only be for 15 minutes. So I'm there with my videographer, my microphone, ready to go at 11 p.m. And he was great. He was fantastic. He spent like half an hour with me. And then as soon as I got John Demartini, then I got like Cohen Ray, and then I got Jack DeLosa, and then I got Grant. So you snowballs. Once you get a big name, then you can get other big names. This is how you grow your audience. This is how I grew my audience relatively quickly. But then you want to leverage the guest. Leverage the guest. See, one strategy is you interview people that you want to do business with. I don't necessarily think that's there's a problem with that. The only issue is you're going to be interviewing people that don't have an audience necessarily. You want people that are good at storytelling, that are engaging on camera, that understand, that light has to come from behind the camera, because you don't want to interview somebody, especially if you want them as a client, and then they get on the call and they're sitting outside and the wind's going and they're on the laptop and the picture's all fuzzy. Because I tell you, if you don't have good audio and good video, no one's going to watch it. And they're not going to have a good experience either, because they're going to watch back and go, oh, I wish that wasn't on the internet. Anyway, so let's say you get somebody that's experienced in storytelling and they probably have guests, or they know people that could be clients, right? What you want to do is hop onto LinkedIn, see who you have as mutual connections, and then message them and say, hey, I'm interviewing I'm interviewing Grant Cardone next week live. Why don't you come along? Because you're first degree connected, they're connected to both of you, right? If you don't have many connections in common, then you can add a bunch of connections. You can even say it in the invitation. Hey, I've noticed that you're following Grant Cardone. I'm interviewing him next week. Would you like to connect? That's how you grow an audience incredibly fast, right? So if you don't have a podcast, go get one. Look, it's not for everyone, right? Like the guys that are here, if you're still here on Monday Night Live, it's for you. It's for you. It's for the hardcore marketers. It's for the guys that want to put the time in. The guys that are really serious about building a personal brand. You have to do an interview series. There's no other way that you're going to connect with, creators that in a way that adds value to them. Like if you give them a platform, right, they're going to come and deliver value to your audience. That's valuable, right? That's valuable. Like I couldn't get an interview with Kerwin Ray, bless his, like he's passed away last year. Kerwin Ray, I couldn't get an interview with him for about 3 years, not until I had a big enough audience. And then one day he was like, okay, now I'll do one with you, right? Because there was enough value there. If you look at my message history with him, I was messaging him for like 2 years. So anyway, we really went into the specific details here, didn't we? Let's have a look at some of the comments. What channels currently deliver the highest quality leads for our business? How can we improve our lead qualification process to boost conversion rates? Hey, do you know what? If you're in B2B, it's LinkedIn. I don't know about your business, but like overall, people are saying that LinkedIn get the best quality leads. But you have to do, if you're doing ads, it's got to be combined with organic. You can't just do, like you've got to do both. Organic's the longer term, ads is more immediate terms, more scalable. How can you improve your lead qualification process? You can improve it through storytelling. Do you know that when I do these events, right, these events where we're selling stuff at the end of the webinar, most of the sections, is it most or is it all? Yeah, most. Not all of them. Most of the sections are designed to knock over the biggest objections that we have. So by covering those, we actually qualify the client and narrow it down. And to be honest, like you just got to ask the right questions, because if somebody gets to the point where they're talking to you, they must be fairly qualified already, right? Depending on how your marketing process is. What do they have to do to speak to somebody? Like, for me, they have to go through a system. They can't just like put in their number. They have to book a phone call, and then I do a 15-minute call, and then we book a second appointment. I've got a bunch of questions I run through when I qualify clients. I don't think there's a quicker way than what I'm doing. But we have to talk about budget right away. The amount of people that don't talk about budget is just crazy. Like it's the most, look, if they can't afford you, right? Or they're not in the right price range, then you're not going to do business with them. So why wouldn't you discuss that up front? Like I would say, you can make it the first thing you discuss. If people want to know your price, tell them. If it's custom pricing, just give them a range. There's nothing wrong with a huge range. You can say, we start at $500 and the highest is $1 million. There's nothing wrong. Are you closer to the $500 or the $1 million? There's nothing wrong with that. You've got to get a gauge for where they're at. Hey, tagging a few people. Yeah, thanks, Mark. I appreciate that. Christmas gift, Give and Take by Adam Grant. I haven't heard that one. That sounds amazing. Hey, Taylor, welcome. Welcome. Good to see a few of you here. Great. Love to see the guys being active in the comments there. I'm going to keep going. I did a live with, a masterclass inside Yasmin Alex community last week. And we were talking about events and so on. And he was saying he very rarely does an event for less than an hour and a half. And I'm like, yeah, those are always the best events. Because you can go into real detail. Quite often I'll cut myself off around 45 minutes because you don't want to go over an hour. People expect it to be an hour. But what he said was very interesting. So I'm not going to hold back tonight. I know we've gone for 50 minutes. I'm probably going to go for about 15 more minutes, if that's all right with you guys. Stick around, guys, because at the end, I'm going to tell you how you can win a free coaching session with me. Have you heard of Comment First Outreach? So back in the day, we used to use a 3-step system to generate leads. It would be find, connect, engage. Find 1,000 people, connect, send them a connection request, you connect with 500, then you engage them and maybe you get 100 leads, right? Simple process. If you know what to measure. You measure the number of invites you send, the number of people that accept it, and you send them more messages and the number of leads. It all works a bit differently now, all of it. So the best way is to send people connection requests after you've actually nurtured them first. What do I mean by nurture? Either commented on their content, or you've met them in the comments of somebody else's content, or you've met them at an event like this. Like you guys in the comments, right? Like if you guys are having interactions and conversations with each other in the comments, and somebody you've just had a conversation with in the comments of Monday Night Live sends you a connection request, are you likely to accept if you see it? Of course you are. It's Monday Night Live. And you don't have to send the engagement message. And when I say the engagement message, I mean the message that asks for the thing, appointment or whatever the next step is. You don't have to do it after they connect with you anymore. You can do it in the connection request. Now, why is that? It's because, have you noticed that when you accept an invitation from somebody, that right after, if they've sent a customized message in the invitation, they've customized the invite, when you press accept, then bang, that invitation message pops up as a new message in your inbox. So it's the same thing as like connect and then engage. It's the same thing as two messages. You just do it in one. Now, the only thing is, I will say, is that the invitation, the goal is to get them to accept the invite, not necessarily to book the thing. So like if you're going to a sales, like not a sales call, but if you're getting them to book a call, you probably want to do it in two messages. Okay. But what I would suggest doing is starting a conversation, like literally asking them, I saw that you were at this event with Nathaniel. How's business at the moment? Send an invite. They'll accept and they'll answer. They'll start a conversation with you. The profile has to do the selling for you. So if somebody gets a message from a stranger, an invitation saying, how's business? Whether or not they reply depends on what your profile looks like. They're just going to click on your name and read your profile. That's why lead generation has been disrupted. When I started my business, when you search for lead generation on Google, all you got were telemarketing companies that hit the telephones to close deals. I was the first website in the search results that was like, we're going to do it on LinkedIn. Now you look, they're all doing social media. We disrupted the lead generation industry. Excuse me. So the reason is when you call people, I've done lots of cold calling back in my sales days. What do you have to say to people? You have to say who you are and why you're calling. You don't have to do either of those things when you approach people on social media because they can click your name and read your profile. Now, clicking your name and reading your profile, that's an inbound activity. They've asked to see your profile. They've clicked. It's very subtle, right? One click, but it's an inbound activity, which means they've asked for the information, means they're ready to consume it. They're going to have a look and scan through your profile. Rather than you going, hey, I'm interrupting you. This is who I am. This is what I do. Subtle difference. So don't talk about yourself when you send people messages or invitations. It's the biggest mistake people make in the DMs. One thing I guarantee that anyone you send a message to is interested in, themselves. Right? It's true. Guaranteed. So if you show interest in them, they're much more likely to respond to you, and then you've started a conversation. And guess what? Conversations lead to relationships. Relationships, on the basis they're with the right people, lead to sales. Okay, so if you go to somebody's event, you click on the attendee list and you comment on like a few of their posts, send personalized invites, and follow up with an invitation to your event. It won't be long until you have 100, 200 leads sitting there in your event and you can nurture them and you can engage them. You've got a warm invite, you've delivered value, you're building trust, and then you've got them for 45 minutes on the basis they come, or an hour and a half at your event for them to see you teaching in public and adding value. That's the sequence. You build trust, you build a relationship. You can do all that in a week. The advantage with marketing an event for longer than a week is you can invite 1,000 people per week. So if you've got more than 1,000 people in your network, then you want more than a week. So you can invite everyone. You send them an invitation, it comes through like a connection request, as well as all these other things that I've just talked about. That's the sequence. Who's getting value? Let me know in the chat. We've got a few thumbs up. Oh, Storm's getting people to engage. Michelle Bibby's still here. Geez, late night for my mother. Thanks for being here, Mum. Naveed and Dean Osborne. Thanks for being here, guys. Impressed. What's this question here? I've addressed that one. What does this one say? Hey, Taylor Elizabeth Stephanie Robertson. I am currently relaunching my brand. Do you have any specific advice for marketing for a startup, please? I'm currently doing socials myself. Would you recommend certain content and questions? My brand is Slow Fashion Scrunchies, hair accessories. All right. Yeah. Okay. So this is what I'd be looking for if I was doing that sort of business. And I'm not an expert in the fashion industry, but I do understand B2C. I'd be looking for leverage. I'd be thinking about what brands out there have got my ideal client already, right? So if you're doing hair accessories, what goes with hair accessories? Some of the women need to jump in the chat and help me out here. I don't know, is it makeup? Is it hairdressers? Is it photographers? I don't know. Is it fashion labels? Is it shops? Is it e-commerce stores? I don't know, but whatever it is, whatever those opportunities are, like if it's like, let's say it's a fashion store and you want to get, like, you could approach them and you could suddenly get in like 200 shops and sales would go through the roof. You get a huge order. LinkedIn's a place to do that. You want to generate B2B relationships on LinkedIn, right? So it's not all just about posting content for the consumer. What I'm suggesting doing is hopping on a LinkedIn and actually finding distribution channels, business partnerships, ways that you can get leverage so you can get loads of customers or loads of orders all at once. That's what I'd be thinking about. So on LinkedIn, with the content, I would make it less B2C and more B2B. Talk more about the momentum of the business, right? Talk more about what you're doing behind the scenes, rather than having like pictures of models and stuff like that that would work well on Instagram for sure. LinkedIn is where you can do some huge deals. You know, get in front of the right audience and sales will go through the roof. And if it's a startup, you kind of need to do that. You need business partners. Like, I've always believed that you start a business, if you're starting a business without investment capital, you need partners, right? And so you just got to figure out a way to deliver value to those people, and then you'll be able to get in front of their audience, and that's how you growth hack attention. Yeah, that's what I'd be thinking about. I don't think you need to spend money with a startup. Like a startup, like you should be able to get it going without any money. Then you know you've got a real business, right? I don't think you need investment necessarily. Unless you can see it working and you want to just like throw fuel on the fire, then by all means. Hey, average content is shit content. Because like you can't fit in and stand out at the same time. You can't fit in and stand out at the same time. So if you're average, you're fitting in, right? Now, average content is AI content these days. Like 65% of people, I reckon, are using AI to create their content. Just because it's written well doesn't mean it's still average, because most people are doing it. If it becomes easier to create perfect content, then perfect content becomes average. Think about it. You can't fit in and stand out at the same time. So how do you guarantee that you're always different? Well, you have to be more of yourself. It's the only way. You've got to amplify those components of yourself. They're the most important parts. So if you're giving AI content to turn into, like, let's say you give it a transcript and you want it to turn it into an ebook or whatever, don't rearrange my words. Keep my words the way they are. If you're going to suggest things to add or whatever, do that, but don't change my language, because that's how I talk. That's what makes me uniquely me. You can take out the ums and ahs, but don't move my sentences around, right? That makes it me. I need to be authentic. I need to be conversational. I need to speak to my audience like they're right there in front of me. I need to speak to my audience like they're one person, because then they feel like they're connected to me. It's almost like a text message. I'm not a very good text messenger. I'm not a big believer in text messaging. Like 7% of communication is not enough for me, right? I need face-to-face, and this is the next best thing. But if your content looks like everyone else's and sounds like everyone else's and reads like everyone else's, it disappears. We don't need more content. We need more individuals. If you've got 400 people that you're competing with now for people's attention, or 40 people, or 4,000, whatever it is, it's about to 100x. Next year, it'll be like 400,000 people that you're competing with. There's going to be a sea of content. There'll be content everywhere. By the way, there'll be 100 new social media sites by the end of next year. Of course there will be. Think about it. With everyone producing content every day using AI agents, there's going to be all these social media sites for different niches, right? Where people can do private communities and all that sort of stuff. It's going to completely transform everything. People don't, like brands now, when they talk about marketing, quite often they're talking about content marketing. Like that is every brand knows that they need to do content marketing now. The world has fundamentally changed because that was not how it was 10 years ago, was it? I had to convince people to use LinkedIn. Now everyone wants to use it. They realize that you've got to storytell. And with AI, I tell you what, it's the biggest shift since the internet came around. It's a bigger shift than social media, that's for sure. And everyone thinks the opportunity is, oh, we've got to learn how to create more content faster than anyone else. That's what everyone's doing. If you want to stand out, do quality content, be more human, lean into that. I'm not saying don't use AI, but if you're trying to build a relationship with somebody and build trust, don't outsource that bit to AI. You should all have a social media policy that says what you will and won't use AI for. And stick to it. All right, guys. Great content. How do you make great content? Like if good content is crap content, how do you make great content? Great content is risky. It's risky. You have to risk not being liked. Not everyone's going to like it. When you're more yourself, that's what happens. You get haters. That's a good sign that you're doing it right. Grant Cardone, advice he gave me off camera. He's like, dude, you need more haters. I said, how do I get to the next level? He said, you need more haters. I said, how do I get more haters? He's like, oh, look, it doesn't look like... He goes, not like I have a strategy to get haters or anything, but they do bring a lot of engagement. He winked at me. Right? Great content is risky. If you're pissing people off, that means you're being polarizing. If you're being polarizing, that means people have an opinion one way or the other, right? That's where you get like loads of engagement, right? And I'm not saying just piss people off, but what happens is if you're going to stand out, there are going to be people that want to bring you down. So that's a good sign, right? So bring on the haters. Bring on the haters. Great content is also honest. It's honest. It's authentic. It's easy to be consistent when you're just being yourself, right? Because and yourself can grow as well. And it makes sense if you're involved in this industry, then you go in that industry and that. There's always going to be the common theme of yourself. People say to me, oh, should I have 2 LinkedIn profiles? One for this business and one for this business? Well, I can tell you right now, they're not being authentic, right? Because they're not being them. Like, if they can't connect the two for their audience and they're not being who they really are, because they managed to connect the two for themselves, didn't they? Oh, I did this because the opportunity to do this, blah, 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 blah. There is a story there, and if you're being authentic, you'll be able to connect the dots. None of you should have 2 LinkedIn profiles. Great content challenges the status quo. What do I mean by that? So if there's popular beliefs that are out there, which of them do you disagree with? When I interview clients and we create micro content, I say to them, like, what are some of the big popular beliefs out there? What are some of the myths that you disagree with? Some businesses that aren't used to doing this and aren't used to standing out, they find it hard to find things. I actually look for people to interview that I disagree with now, because you have that debate and it creates great content. You know, you got to be secure enough to be able to do that. Like, a lot of people are threatened by other competitors in their industry, rather than actually looking at it from a different perspective and actually looking at it to learn. Like, you can get a lot of customers by interviewing your competitors. Like, if you're confident, I've never ever hidden my network from my competitors. If my clients honestly want to go to a competitor because they've approached them in the DMs, go for it. Like, if you're that insecure about your business, like that somebody's going to steal your clients from a DM when you've already built a relationship with them and you've already added value, then something's not right, you know? Great content builds trust faster than any ad funnel or automation on earth, because you can get leads in through ads, but not going to build trust for you, okay? So like when I say I generate 136 leads through LinkedIn events by that strategy that I've been describing tonight, those 136 leads, if they don't buy now, doesn't matter. They're 136 real relationships that have been off to a really good start, really strong start in the first couple of weeks. We don't want to piss people off that might do business with us in a year, okay? The mere exposure effect, don't worry, if you're a regular, I'm not going to go into it again, but the mere exposure effect, look it up. Look it up. If you don't know what it is, look it up. The mere exposure effect, okay? I post content that actually helps people, and those people that recognize that value end up doing business with me. I don't try and sell to them with my content. Content that says, here's how to solve a real problem, not here's why you need me, is what does well. I've got about 5 more minutes to go, guys, and then I'll be done. So the heart of the strategy is to find people, right? Through the events, attendees, decision makers, commenters, people who are engaging with your content, people who are engaging in your niche. Then you want to nurture, right? So you're nurturing before and after all over the place. You want to be commenting. Turn on the notifications on their profile so you get notified and you can engage on their content. If they're not getting much engagement, which most of them won't be, your comment's going to really stand out, and it's going to stand out with their audience as well, okay? And then you want to send them connection requests. Hey, Sarah, saw your comment on that event about scaling marketing. Loved your take on social media. I'm hosting a LinkedIn session next week on lead generation. What do you want to come along? Perfect, okay? Then you ask them if they want the link, send them the link, and then they register, and you say thanks for you know the rest, right? People want to automate all this. You can't automate building a relationship. You can't build a relationship with someone while you're trying to extract value out of them, right? Are we on the same page here? You can't automate building a relationship. You can automate like lead generation, get them into the first step, but if you want to build trust and build a relationship with the 95% that aren't ready to buy now, you can't do it like that. All right. So it's just about caring, what I said before, being a good human, right? Okay. Let's talk about automating the first impression. So if your first message is a bot, your reputation's it's ruined. You want to comment first, right? Stop pitch slapping people. Okay, you want to earn the right to get their attention. If your event delivers a value and they request to get more content from you, or they turn the notification bell on, you've earned that right? People that expect your content, that want your content, that appreciate your content, they need to be seeing your content. There's nothing worse than those people actually not getting your content, because that's what they want. Okay, you don't want to be showing your content to everyone because you've got more views and followers. We've already agreed views and followers don't mean shit. We want real relationships with people. Okay. And when you're on the first call, you want to ask questions. Right? Start with rapport. How'd you get into this business anyway? Tell me, what's the plans for the business? What are you struggling with at the moment? What sort of customers do you work with? The best strategy on earth is to actually give a shit. And if you want the real secret, I got 136 leads in 2 weeks because I cared more about the comments that I left. Each one of them, the conversations I had, the value I gave, the people in the room. I didn't just generically message everyone. I thought about it and I cared. When you actually care, forget about the algorithms and the vanity metrics. When you actually care, people will feel it. And when people feel it, they trust you. And when people trust you, they buy. All right. Now, if you post online about Monday Night Live, and it has to include you in the post, whether it's a photo or a video or whatever, if you post tonight about Monday Night Live, use the hashtag Monday Night Live, post your biggest takeaway from the episode, whatever you want about tonight, include your face in the post, tag me, and hashtag Monday Night Live. I'll pick my favorite, and one of you will get free coaching with me. Sometimes that coaching can lead to millions of dollars in revenue, so it's worthwhile doing. Do a post. I want to see what you guys come up with. And remember, knowledge without execution is absolutely useless. It's useless. No point having knowledge without execution. So go out there and execute, my friends. Stay legendary, and I will see you next Monday night without fail to deliver more value on Monday Night Live. Thanks for watching.